what's worked well this season versus what hasn't, meeting expectations and not. The one list is this long and the other list is, one or two items. So the one or two items I would think would include, I got to think that Miami fans are excited about Cam Davis and his productivity over the last few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. I've met Cam Davis a couple times, being down here, obviously sharing his first name with him. We have that bond of camaraderie. But yeah, no, he's stockily built, 5'9", 88, 193 pounds. And he's quick and he's fast enough, and you saw that in both of his touchdown runs. I mean, in the year, both of his touchdown runs. And then especially, last week, dude, one cut, put that foot in the ground and gone. And, obviously, when you have a Lorenzo Lingard, who's a top 25, 30 recruit overall, 5-star guy in the same class, a 4-star kid like Cam Davis would take a back seat, and reasonably so, that he did not have the publicity that Lorenzo Lingard had. Lorenzo Lingard is 6'1.5", 193 pounds, championship sprinter running a 4.27 in the spring. Freak numbers, first round draft pick kind of size and build and numbers and all these kind of things. Don't let that go past you or make you think that Cam Davis is not good, because he is, and he's showing it and he's proving it. So, Travis Homer, solid. DJ Dallas, we need to leave those fumble problems in the past, but definitely solid. Cam Davis, you've seen what he's doing. Lorenzo Lingard, 5-star. Boom. So that's a position where, Miami does have depth, but especially with Cam Davis, who last week when he stepped foot on the field, that was his 5th game. So there is no red shirt for him anymore. But he made it worthwhile because he had 7 carries for 78 yards and a touchdown, and also caught a touchdown pass on a swing route. So he's impacted the game running and catching the ball. I always thought that he was a good pass receiver in high school. Some other local high school people and recruiting analysts disagreed with me on that. But, I mean, he's not making the tough catch over the middle, while getting hit and everything. But I think that Cam Davis has pretty good hands for a running back. So he's showing a multifaceted skill set. And, I think that is a building block, or can be one of the building blocks moving forward.
Got Cam Underwood on the line from State of the U, Miami taking on Pitt. That game at home this weekend. Surprisingly, had we made this statement before the season, one of these teams has wrapped up the Coastal Division Championship. Wow, we could have taken that one to the bank in favor of the Pitt Panthers, as it has turned out, after getting blown out by Central Florida and by Penn State. 45-14, 51-6, losing to Notre Dame, losing all their FBS non-conference games, playing so well within the Coastal Division, and they've gotten better and better every week, Cam. So this is not just a team where it was kind of interesting. I like to look at standings and project and do all the metrics, and so it was kind of fun. The first few weeks they started to win, and when you guys lost, it was like, okay, this is going to be a mess. Wouldn't it be kind of cute if Pitt muddled their way into it, but that's not going to happen. But now they've gotten to a point where obviously they've not only accomplished that, they've beaten some decent teams, and they've found an identity to where they know what they can do. They got a quarterback in Kenny Pickett who threw for 300 yards a couple games ago, but that's not their thing. They know we grind it out. We run the ball. They got the 2 tough runners in Allison and Darren Hall. Really solid defense, which of course I've been waiting for Pat Narduzzi to bring a really good defense, and he's finally done that. I thought I thought that was a bit of a mystery that his teams actually were outscoring teams the last couple of years, but it's a Pitt team to be reckoned with. Not a great team, not ultra talented, but at least it's good to see, if you're not invested in the situation, a team that knows its identity, knows who they are, and that's what they come with every week.
Yeah, and Kenny Pickett threw for 300 yards last time out, and that was the first time in his career. So, I mean, obviously they're not throwing the ball around a lot. And his first start was last year, a year ago, in that game that Miami lost and ended their undefeated season. But yeah, Pat Narduzzi, he was at Michigan State forever as an amazing defensive coordinator, finally got a head coaching job. And yeah, it always stood to reason that Pittsburgh, especially that Western PA mentality, just like the Steelers, they're going to play good defense. They're going to try to run the ball. whatever you get from the passing game for explosion is going to be extra. And it took him a while to really reshape the roster because it was kind of floundering when he first got there. Narduzzi, that is. But yeah, like you said, we did say the conversation at the beginning of the season. Look, Miami and Pittsburgh are going to play the day after or 2 days after Thanksgiving, and one of those teams is going to be the Coastal Division champion, and the other one's going to be the Pittsburgh Panthers. But it's the exact opposite. One of those teams is the ACC Coastal champion, and the other team is the Miami Hurricanes. And of course, everybody's saying now that Pittsburgh has as many Coastal Division championships as Miami does, even though they've been in the conference for a shorter time period, which is true. And you can't get mad at it if you're a Miami Hurricanes fan or supporter or alum like myself, because facts are facts and you can't get mad at facts. But yeah, I think that Miami was favored by almost a touchdown when the line opened, which is kind of crazy to me. Miami has been playing down to 2 and below the level of their opposition pretty much all season long. And hopefully that does not happen on Saturday. It's senior day, obviously. So all 26, I believe, of the scholarship and non-scholarship seniors are going to get recognized before the game. We have a series up on State of the U where we're profiling the prominent seniors, not all of the walk-ons and things like that, but those who made plays over their time here at Miami. And everything. So obviously recognizing that, but yeah, send them out with a win. Hopefully get to 500 in the league. And I know that people were lambasting Mark Richt for saying that, oh, you want to get to 4-4 in the league and it's better than 3-5. Well, duh, because math. But also, if you do that, that puts Miami potentially gives the ability to be in a tier 1 bowl game as opposed to additional or tier 2 for the ACC conference. It's not a New Year's Six game. It's not the college football playoff. But I wrote a piece about this earlier. Basically, you have the college football playoff. You have the Fiesta Bowl or the Peach Bowl are the two that would replace the Orange Bowl, because the Orange Bowl is the college football playoff semifinal this year. So those are your 1 and 2. Number 3 is the Camping World Bowl at Orlando, which gets its own pick before the rest of everything else. And then you have the tier 1 bowls after that. So tier 1 is, basically teams 3 through 6 or 4 through 7 in the conference standings at the end of the year, depending on, college football playoff and then the New Year's Six and then the Camping World Bowl. So, if all 3 of those have an ACC team in there and, if Clemson wins the conference championship again, like they are projected to and are undefeated, they should be in the college football playoff. That puts Pittsburgh in the New Year's Six and then somebody else in the Camping World. Then Miami could be in that next tier of both that, kind of it's like a mid-tier. It's not super high. But if you lose this game to Pittsburgh and then you're not in the top half of the conference standings, then you're talking about one of the lower even tier bowls than that. Which, look, you're going to play the bowl game. You're going to take the extra practices and player development and, for momentum for the program. But obviously you would like to be in a better game against a better opponent with a better time slot and a better TV deal and all those kind of things. So obviously, winning this game on Saturday would go and feed into those things a lot. And, it's just – I like to win. Winning is good. Winning feels good and everything. So you want to have that. And also, you just want to get back on a roll because you got away from being a good team for more than a month by losing all these games, even to some teams that are not really good, teams that you should have beaten. No offense, but honestly, Virginia, there's no reason Miami should have lost to Virginia. Boston College, not at all. Georgia Tech, you're going to lose one of those every now and then, even though Mark Richt had never lost at Georgia Tech in his coaching career until this year. But you got to win this game, and you got to come out and prove something. So, yeah, I don't really care about the infighting or Jeff Thomas got kicked off the team or he left the team or blah, blah, blah. The team does need to rally. This is going to be obviously the last send-off for the seniors at Hard Rock Stadium. This is a place where you haven't lost in a long time. I think it's almost going on 2 full seasons and some change maybe since you lost at home. Look, you got to step up. We got to play the games. You can't really be sad about it or anything. So, play with the chip on your shoulder. Go out there, beat the guy across from you, and then win the game.
So follow my logic here because it ties into what you just said about who Miami should or should not lose to on their schedule. It also goes back to what you said about Miami being a 7-point favorite and they shouldn't play down to their competition. And hopefully they won't and will take care of Pitt. So we get to this stage in the season and we've seen these teams play 10, 11, 12 games. So I could take a ton of matchups across the country. 3 come to mind. Let's take Ohio State and Michigan. Ohio State, if you looked at the recruiting rankings, Michigan's very, very high, but Ohio State's even higher. Like if you took the breadth of the roster, you
Mhm.
Ohio State should be more talented, not substantially, but more talented. Michigan's playing much better over the course of 11 games. It's not even comparable. Sure, they have the same record, but Michigan has been just a tighter, more well-oiled machine. They just look like the better team. USC and Notre Dame. Notre Dame's undefeated right now. USC's a mess. They've lost 6 games. But if you look at the talent on the roster,
Mhm.
there could be an argument made that USC's better than Notre Dame, or at least they're
More
even.
talented, yeah.
But what we're seeing out there isn't the same. And we
Mhm.
can go through the nation and make some other examples. So Pitt, Miami, at this stage of the game, sure, Miami has a more talented, recruited, and signed roster, but is Pitt not the better team? I Although,
I mean,
I know the records are
I mean,
comparable and
right?
it's
You can make the argument that they are, obviously, because you are who your record says you are. But Pittsburgh has not necessarily been lighting the world on fire recently. I believe they've lost a game in the not too recent or not too distant past. So, Miami could, and I mean, it shouldn't be an upset to beat Pittsburgh, honestly and truly. Now, Pittsburgh pretty much gave the full blueprint for how to beat Miami when Malik Rozier was the quarterback. Said we're gonna, send pressure because he can't read it. He's not really gonna run away from it. We're gonna play press man and try to have your receivers beat us. And if you do beat us on the outside, that now means that this quarterback, who's averagely talented at best, needs to hit a perfect throw every time. And Miami was unable to do that. So yeah, I mean, there are the two issues of roster talent versus demonstrated success or efficiency, execution, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I think that obviously Pittsburgh has that identity and they want to execute on defense and then they want to run the ball and execute that on offense, take up time, shorten the game because they know that they're not as talented as other teams. So you have to scheme these kind of things, kind of like a Georgia Tech, like a Navy. They're not as talented as other people. So the scheme has to be a thing that, bridges some of that gap. So, I mean, the argument is clearly made that through this season, Pittsburgh was a better team overall. Currently, not necessarily sure about that, but obviously without some talented players, I think that Miami's advantage of talent has been whittled down a little bit. Like I said, there's no scholarship tight ends. That means no freshman All-American Brevin Jordan, who, trust and believe me, is going to be the freshman first team All-American at tight end. He's the best. He's arguably the best tight end in the ACC conference already. And I mean, he's one of the top 10 probably nationally as a true freshman. Will Mallory also out. Amon Richards, career-ending injury. Jeff Thomas, dismissed, left the team. So you're talking about all these dudes off the top of the roster again, starting caliber players across that board. Doop, 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 doop. So now, like I said, some of those things, some of those that talent advantage is gone. Mike Smith, standout backup linebacker, tweaked a knee. He's out for this week and hopefully back for a bowl game. He's one of the seniors on this squad. Mike Pinckney missed last week, suspended. He's going to come back, so he's back in there to replace Mike Smith and everything. So that raises that ceiling of talent. So, I mean, yeah, on talent, Miami is a better team. Like if you just put the rosters on, you say, whoa, okay, like this, oh, wow, you look at the high school highlights and everything, cool. But high school is high school and college is college. And Pittsburgh has been executing in conference. And again, you cannot take away from them their 2018 Coastal Division Championship because they went out and they've won the games and they've done that. So, we'll see which team is better on Saturday. But I think it might be, and a touchdown or, less on a betting line, that's pretty even. You know what I mean? That's not like a Alabama favored by 49.5 against Citadel or something, even though they didn't cover that. But, that's, oh, you're favored by 8 touchdowns. It's like you're playing recess where you're not even counting points. You're counting touchdowns. Like, no, not that. 1 touchdown, that's a possession. That's the last drive. That's a tie game. That's a, 28-21, 35-28, 31-24, a game that's pretty tight. So I don't expect it to be a blowout either way. I think these are 2 fairly well-matched teams, but in a utopian world with both teams operating at peak efficiency, Miami should win.